For those of you who wonder why I like to put beanies and hats on in my videos, not because I'm going bold, okay? It's because the green screen filter thing just doesn't like my hair for some reason. It keeps flickering. I've been tweaking the settings. It just flickers too much, and it gets annoying. That's why I cover my hair, okay? Anyway, we all know what you came for, the Sonic. Alright, so as you already know, Sonic X Shadow Generations is coming out in less than 3 weeks from now, right? Which means that critics and journalists and whatever we call them get early access to the game and they give their thoughts early. And we got one of those today. We got Brian Shea, and he says, a while back I was set loose in an early build of Sonic X Shadow Generations for several hours. Several hours? How long is this game? And spoke to Takashi Iizuka about the entirety of the package. Check out my hands-on preview of this highly anticipated revival. Now, if you don't know who Brian Shea is, he was at Game Informer, another journalist outlet which apparently got shut down like recently this year. So now he's at Medium, right? But Game Informer were covering a lot of Frontiers if you forgot. So back when Frontiers was coming out, this guy was doing a lot of coverage on Game Informer. And I think he was one of the people that was more on the positive side because, you know, with Shadow Generation, it seems everyone's like, this game looks good. But with Frontiers, it was like the typical 3D Sonic game with the very polarized, and like some people really fuck with it. Some people are like, whatever. And some people hate it, you know. Like most 3D Sonic games, like all of them, pretty much. I mean, the original games were acclaimed on release, but then in the 2010s, then they turned on them. So pretty much every 3D Sonic game that came out, besides Generations, had that polarized reception. And yes, he covered before release, and he was looking forward to Frontiers. Nonetheless, he's back on Medium, and now he's played Shadow Generations, or Sonic X Shadow Generations, we played both sides, and he's got some thoughts. So we're going to read his article and the Iizuka interview that's in here, because there's some little tidbits of information that we need to discuss regarding the game. So the article reads how Sonic X Shadow Generations revives one of Sonic Team's most beloved games. It says, from the mid-2000s to the early 2010s, the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise was in a it's a typical journalist first paragraph. Though well-liked games like Sonic Hero, okay, so Heroes Unleashed, okay, and Colors, okay, so it's a bit different from the usual first paragraph, because usually they don't lead with Heroes and Unleashed, they usually lead with like the Precious Classics and maybe Adventure 1 and 2, they tend to be like, Heroes was the downfall, and Unleashed had Werewolf and shit like that. But anyway, it says, the narrative surrounding the franchise at the time was one of decline thanks to games like Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic 4, and most notoriously, Sonic 06. This is not even true, though, because Sonic 4 was not panned on release, okay? The critics loved Sonic 4. They ate that shit up because they were desperately gagging for anything resembling classic Sonic. So it got good reviews. It was the fans, the hardcore classic fans, who were like, this is an embarrassment, okay? Nonetheless, it says, it's perhaps for that reason that when the series' 20th anniversary arrived in 2011, some fans are not in the most festive mood. In 2001, Sonic Team celebrated the 10th anniversary of the franchise with the launch of Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast. That game is beloved and served as an excellent swan song for Sega's final console, but it did little to reflect on the past of the Blue Book. Were they supposed to make Generations in 01? How many levels they're gonna put in there? Like, let's relax. Despite the challenging position the franchise was in during its 20th anniversary, Sonic Team still wanted to mark the occasion. However, this time it chose to do so by celebrating the series' history. And we see a picture of modern Sonic fist bumping the air. The result was Sonic Generations, a 2-decade retrospective that combined 2D and 3D gameplay by having classic Sonic and modern Sonic as dual protagonists, with a story involving time anomalies that allow the characters to revisit pivotal moments and battles in their past. Players relive some of the series' most iconic stages and bosses with modern visuals and gameplay. It served as a greatest hits remake package, taking one level from Sonic's most well-known adventures and rebuilding it from the ground up for both gameplay styles. Gen serves as one of the most well-liked Sonic games of its era. It's one of the most well-liked Sonic games, period, okay? And it gave players hope that the series was poised to return some semblance of its past glory. Then we got Lost World, eh? Though 2024 doesn't bring about any milestone anniversary like the one that inspired Sega to create this compilation in the first place, Gens is back, and this time it's adding another playable character, Shadow the Hedgehog, okay? In the Zone. Though the original game has existed for 13 years with the two Sonics as playable characters, the idea to develop a Sonic Generations remaster and inject Shadow into it occurred simultaneously. I'm guessing this is Iizuka speaking. When we had the Sonic Colors remaster with Sonic Colors Ultimate, at the time, a lot of people were like, hey, we want to see a Generations remaster. Sonic Team Creative Officer Takashi Iizuka said. That was happening at the same time that the third Sonic National movie conversations were happening, and conversations about, hey, we should put Shadow in movie 3. That was happening while the maybe we should remaster Generations idea was coming to fruition, so we thought this is the best time to do it. I don't remember anyone begging for a Generations remaster. I mean, I wanted one. I made a video saying I wanted one. So unless Iizuka saw my video. I mean, hey Iizuka, if you're watching, how's that Heroes remake going? Anyway, I think a lot of people are like, we don't need it. But again, that's just hardcore Sonic fans talking from their own warped perspective and not from the general audience perspective. Because Generations was only playable on PC with a dated PC port and backwards compatibility on Xbox, and no one fucking has Xbox. It wasn't on PlayStation, like PS5. It wasn't on Switch, which is like where Sonic fans or Nintendo fans who buy Sonic games are, which is where the bulk of Sonic sales come from. So all the Sonic fans seeing we didn't need a Generations re-release, are talking from their own perspective of, well, I've got it, I can play it, so, you know. But in the actual reality of things, Generations needed to be more accessible. So it made perfect sense to re-release the game. Anyway, it says Sonic Team didn't just want to insert Shadow into the pre-existing levels as some empty bonus for this enhanced version of the 2011 re-release. Instead, Sonic Team deliberated on ways to add Shadow while also evolving the game format. The best route Iizuka and his team could think of was to create a standalone campaign that runs parallel to the events of the main Sonic Generation story. Now this is interesting because, like, usually Sonic Team do the bare minimum, so them saying they didn't want to just insert Shadow into the levels as an empty bonus, when we were literally like, our expectations were so low that it was just like, well, that's what they'll do, right? They just re-release Sonic Gens, add basically a Shadow mod, and call it a day. Like, and people will buy it because it's that's like the bare minimum. So we expected that from them. So for them to do what they did, I think you could collectively go back to every like Sonic Tuber's reaction to the first Sonic X Shadow Generations trailer, when you see like the beginning part and you see like it's just Sonic Generations and they put Shadow in the CGI, and you get to that moment where you see the new gameplay, you're like, holy fuck, they actually put an effort here. It's like that. It's not just a lazy re-release, and everyone's just like, what? They did work? They exerted energy? Like this doesn't seem right. Like that shock was everyone collectively going like, we expected the bare minimum, and they gave us more than that. So, you know, I'm proud of them for that. They could have just put a model in there and called it a day. They could have. And people would have bought it. And it would have been a good re-release. You know? But they had a whole new campaign. Like, and it's not, it costs less than Sonic Superstar. Like, I don't know how they thought they could charge that much for Superstars. But this whole package costs less than you can play Sonic X Shadow Generations and it's less than the cost of Superstars. Like, I don't know why they think Classic Sonic is that valuable, but they are wrong. Okay, people think I hate Classic Sonic now. I'm kind of running with it, but it's just funny. But a lot has changed since 2011 as far as game formats and game styles, as Iizuka says. If we wanted to add Shadow to the Sonic Generations game itself, we thought we'd need to change a whole lot. The open zone game format was something that was really great that came out of Sonic Frontiers, and I thought, we've got to do that to Sonic Generations. We have to add all this extra content if we want to put it all in this new and improved thing. That's why we thought, let's keep Sonic Generations what it was. Everyone likes it that way. But to change the format, we'll keep Shadow Generations in a separate space with separate storytelling and do all the fun additional things that we wanted to do with the remaster. So that's like their philosophy right now with these re-releases. Does that mean that with the Heroes re-release, they're not going to change too much and leave it intact? Or are they going to go, Heroes wasn't as beloved, so we'll change more things? I mean, Heroes was reviewed decently well on release. Maybe not as well as the game before it, obviously, but like, well enough that you shouldn't be changing everything, okay? Well, I'm not saying you can't tweak anything, but like, don't be going crazy, okay? Even Colors was far from a perfect game, and they left that pretty much intact in terms of level design. I think they added like a Jade Wisp or some shit like that, some cringe wisp to the list of cringe anyway. To create something unique, Shadow Generations takes Shadow in an open zone white space. This area works as a hub for Shadow's story, but is much more involved in the 2D white space in the original Sonic Generations campaign. Like the open zone areas in Sonic Frontiers, Shadow Generations white space is littered with fun obstacle courses, enemies, and collectibles. So we're getting the combat then, right? Like, it's not just gonna be like home and attack enemies, it's gonna be like the Frontiers, like, combat, like the little bosses that you had on the islands, right? Like, maybe not Titans, but like the little boss sections and things like that. While I can't say who, I also stumbled upon some familiar faces during my hands-on time. Well, we're assuming Team Dark are going to be there, because we already saw Omega in the footage in a little corner somewhere, so we know Omega's on the island. I'm guessing Rouge will be there as well, like Team Dark gotta be there. Maybe some other characters as well, I don't know. And perhaps most importantly, Iizuka assures me that the team learned and applied several lessons from the creation of Sonic Frontiers open zone areas in Sonic X Shadow Generations. So basically, we could be getting an improved open zone for this game. This game could effectively be what I wanted Frontiers to be, which was the cyberspace be the highlight and the open zone be the bonus, right? Or at least both of them be of a good quality, as opposed to Frontiers where the open zone stood out more, and even though it stood out, it was still like lacking in several areas. And then like the cyberspace was booty. But here it could be like the levels are fire, the open zone is fire. This could really just be Shadow Frontiers basically. Like they're calling it Shadow Generations because obviously it's the old levels again. But I mean, Frontiers had old levels again. And let's be real, cyberspace was Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Recycle Level Design. This is basically Shadow Frontiers. Is what they're saying. We got the open zone, we got the levels, and you can't say it doesn't count because there's only one like hub, right? It's only one island because like, let's face it, they reused Chronos like 3 times in Frontiers. The Frontiers 2 leaks are saying they want to go to a one island layout anyway. So like, this is basically Shadow Frontiers at this point. They're describing it's got the obstacle courses, the enemies, collectibles, the same as base Frontiers, right? But just they're learning their lessons from like how disjointed it was in the original. We are basically getting Shadow Frontiers, okay? So like, get hyped for that, because we haven't seen enough of the open zone. I don't know how big it is. Maybe it's really small, okay? Maybe it's not that big, but if the levels are carrying the game, I prefer that over the open zone carrying the game, if I had to pick one side. So either way, I'm straight with that. Becoming the ultimate life form. White space is also an excellent area to mess around with some of Shadow's new Doom powers, which really differentiate him from Sonic in this version of Generations. These abilities came from the notion that even with Shadow's Chaos Control, the movesets and skills of the two hedgehogs were too similar. I mean, this is one of those things that has always been interesting to me. It feels like in the 2000s, Sega couldn't determine if they wanted Shadow to be a Sonic clone or for Shadow to be different from Sonic. If you make him a Sonic clone, then it's easy to make him playable in a Sonic game because he plays just like Sonic and people like Sonic. You make him too different, then it becomes polarizing. Like in 06, he's different, he's so different that people either like him or they don't. Whereas in something like SA2, he's basically just Sonic, but then they took out the bounce bracelet and certain skills. So if you like playing as Sonic, you should like playing as Shadow. Same with Heroes. You like playing as Team Sonic, you like playing as Team Dark. In terms of like the movement of the character of Shadow, obviously the levels are harder in Dark, so there might be that, oh, the levels are too long, but like his actual movement is basically Sonic. You make him too different, now it feels like, you know, it's more questionable in terms of whether you're going to prefer him or not. And I guess they finally decided we're going to make Shadow the different character, give him these different powers, make him stand out. You know, I'm fine either way, to be honest. I like different Shadow, I also like similar to Sonic Shadow, but I like both takes. You know, I guess it depends on the game. It says here from Doom Surf, which allows him to traverse the surface of water, to Doom Morph, which lets him grapple on morph balls. Yeah, I don't need to see Shadow grappling on any balls, okay? Shadow's suite of Doom powers adds new twists to even the formula established in 2022's Sonic Frontiers. In my experience, the most impactful additions in White Space are Doom Blast, where Shadow knocks an enemy into the sky, then follows it up and uses it to reach a new area, and Doom Wing, which lets Shadow glide through the air once he has... Oh, so you get 50 rings and you can glide, okay. So do you run out of rings as you glide? Is that how it works? Like you run out of rings in the air or something like that? But yeah, I think these abilities are definitely going to make Shadow more interesting to traverse in the open zone compared to Sonic and say Frontiers, who was a bit more limited in that sense with the abilities. Each power serves a different purpose from a game design perspective. For example, Doom Surf allows players to reach new areas after becoming familiar with the layout of White Space, while Doom Wing gives players something to strive for. So can you manually enable Doom Surf, or is it, because I know it's automatic on water, but is there places where you can manually use it? I don't even know if that's been confirmed or not. Anyway, let's keep going. Doom Wing was the team's way of addressing how we're going to make Shadow look the coolest you can possibly look. We needed something that when everyone sees it, they're like, oh my god, what have I got? This is awesome, Iizuka says. We wanted it to be something unique for this game, a Doom power that makes Shadow look like he's like his ultimate form. Not only do they look cool, but Doom Wing is really effective and fun to use. The Doom powers are perhaps the most enjoyable in White Space due to the sandbox nature of that area, but they carry into the linear stages that span Shadow's time in the Sonic series. The first level I played through was the Space Colony arc from Sonic Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog. This stage showcases Chaos Control, Shadow's iconic power that lets him freeze certain objects. In Space Colony Arc, Shadow can freeze airborne missiles to use them as platforms. In one sequence, I freeze the missiles and reach an otherwise inaccessible part of the stage. So yeah, we know about that part from the gameplay. Obviously, this is a screenshot of Goat Canyon, a reintroduction to Doom. Part of the way through Space Colony Arc, Doom's Eye, a component of Shadow the Hedgehog, antagonist Black Doom, appeared in front of Shadow and warped the entire level in unexpected ways. Though Black Doom was defeated in Shadow's 2005 spin-off game, this is made possible by the Time Meter, the main antagonist of Sonic Generations, disrupting the flow of time and space and making it so places and faces from the past can reappear. Part of Black Doom's plan for dealing with Shadow is manipulating the world around him. On Space Colony Arc, the ground begins twisting and the Dark Hedgehog loses all sense of gravity and direction as he falls helplessly through the air in a way that feels ripped straight out of Inception or Doctor Strange. After a brief skydiving sequence, Shadow lands on solid ground, but things are far from right. He runs around gravity-defying roads, platforms, and even warped sides of buildings as he exchanges verbal bobs. He exchanges bobs? Better not be fucking with the bobs. With Doom's Eye. At the end of the sequence, Doom's Eye summons enemies, which Shadow can volley into the alien, stunning him and causing the mind-bending sequence to end. All of these locations, when you see the world transforming, that's Black Doom that's manipulating the time-space and making this alternate kind of area that Shadow gets drawn into, Iizuka says. We wanted to make sure you're not just going from start to finish for the gameplay, but when you go to these alternate dimension areas Black Doom created, there's going to be something that Shadow needs to do in those areas in order to put things right and then continue on to the rest of the game. So is it kind of like Null Space where you're in this weird void and you have to like do something to get out? In Force's case, you just have to double boost, but I'm guessing here you do something a little bit more interesting and engaging, right? But yeah, I think it's something like that, but just better executed. For the rest of my time playing Shadow Generations, I ran at full speed through Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2, grind through Goat Canyon from The Goat, ride the Wind in Kingdom Valley from 06, and explore a linear version of Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers. Chaos Island in particular feels like a fun bonus since Shadow isn't in Frontiers. Each stage highlights a different Doom power, with Rail Canyon letting me test out the multi-target boss of the Doom Spears, while Radical Highway gave me the use of the Doom Wings. So it's like, each stage gives you like a Doom power to like play around with kind of thing, like a gimmick for that level. But I guess you unlock all of them, you could go back to the earlier stages with all the abilities and then, you know, try them out. My playtime culminated with 2 boss battles, one against Biolizard from SA2 and another against Battle Overlord, the final boss of the Goats. The Biolizard battle is a multi-phase fight that starts out on a circular platform requiring you to grind up the rails running from the prototype's face to hit the weak spot and ends with Shadow homing from one floating bubble to the next to land the final blow. Metal Overlord is a chase-based fight where Shadow must avoid obstacles and volley projectiles at the transformed Metal Sonic. After taking down these 2 powerful baddies, yeah, you definitely took down those baddies, my extended time in Shadow's shoes come to an end. Then we got a picture of Shadow Generations, Chaos Control. I also had the opportunity to play through the remastered 2D and 3D versions of Green Hill Zone on Sonic Generations side of the package. While these don't change in meaningful ways, the frame rate boost to 60 frames per second and an improved resolution from the PS3 and 360 versions could fool an uninformed player into thinking it's an all-new game in 2024. Though Sonic X Shadow Generations is primarily a remaster of the Marvel Greatest Hits package of 2011, I was surprised at the amount of content on offer on the Shadow Generations side alone. Add that to the 25 levels and bosses from the original game. 25? 9? More than 9 class. I guess if you include the bosses and the rival battles. And Sonic X Shadow Generations is a hefty package for new and old Sonic fans alike, and it's coming to all platforms October 25th. So yeah, I think the most important thing that we can take from this is Iizuka really didn't want to change base gens by just shoving Shadow into this, and really wanted to have a separate campaign, and basically wanted to learn things from Frontiers and apply them here, right? And I think that's what we're getting. We're getting basically Shadow Frontiers, we're getting better cyberspace, we're getting better open zone. I don't know if it's going to be as big of an open zone as Frontiers or as much content as Frontiers, but it seems like it's going to be better and more focused, right? And more focus is still a good thing, okay? Even if it's not as much content, if it's really good, who cares, right? Like, oh, I mean, obviously I like more content, but I'm just saying, like, Heroes is my favorite game, and I love having the 4 teams to be able to play 4 different variations of the levels. But if the game was just Team Sonic, it would still be the GOAT. Like, it was that good, right? Now, speaking of the GOAT, It's a little bonus. It's not like news. Ryan Drummond is doing an Ask Dreamcast Sonic little thing on Twitter, and he's answered in his voice. You can hear this here.
At LPB the Actor, aka Lucas Bradley, asks, "Hey Sonic, my question that I'm pretty sure everyone wants to know. How did you manage to perform Chaos Control, with a fake emerald no less, even though you had never done it before at that point?" Wow, good question. Actually, I wasn't sure if I could do it or not. Good thing, too. If it didn't work, I would have been toast. Thanks for the question.
Anyway, the reason why we're looking at this, the rumors of the Heroes remake, I'm just saying, maybe someone's de-rusting their Sonic voice for a little, a little recording. I'm just saying, like, remember when Colors Ultimate came out? I know we try and forget that shit, but they did that Rise of the Wisps animation. They actually got Kate Higgins back to voice Tails for the animation. You would think Sonic Team would just do the bare minimum and just get the current Tails VA to do it, but they actually went back and got Kate Higgins to do it. So if there's a Heroes little YouTube animation series to promote the remake, and they get Drummond back, like, I'm just saying, like, they can't get everyone back because obviously Tails' voice was the kid from Drake and Josh, who's an adult now. They can't get that voice. They could get Drummond back though. They could get the Omega voice back. He's still around. The Rouge voice is still around. I mean, everyone from that game is still alive except Dean. Let's be real. It's just that the Tails voice was a boy and he's a man now, so that's not gonna work. The Charmy voice, I believe, was a woman, but I could be wrong. Let me check that website actually that literally maps out this whole shit, because like they map it out for you. Like you figure it out real quick when you scroll here. So Colleen does Charmy as well. Emily Corkery. Wasn't that the sibling of the other Corkery? They had like 3 different Corkerys in the Adventure era, I swear. Okay, so they could get Charmy back actually if it's a woman, yeah. But the point is, Heroes remake next year is still a rumor, but we are all hoping, praying that it happens, because I mean, let's face it, it's the goal. So let me know what you guys think about all of this. Are you looking forward to Shadow Generations, which is shaping up to be a bit like Shadow Frontiers? But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game, and we haven't seen one critic that's actually gone ham on this game. When I mean ham, I mean like negatively ham, right? Like, Frontiers had enough critics that critiqued the game. Like, it was a polarizing game. Fans were critiquing it off the first reveal. This is very good reception, and we haven't gotten reception this good building up to a game since Gens. As I said before, the Thanos line, they've been flopping since Gens. They couldn't live with their failure, so where did that leave them? Right back to Gens, okay? Gens was the last great 3D Sonic, and now Gens is gonna be the last great 3D Sonic. Once again, it all comes back to Gens. Let me know what you guys think about this. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, more content comments to the channel. But that's what I have to say right now. So, Remy out.